$93,000. That was John's net worth on his 40th birthday. He had a stable job, a house, and a decent car. By every visible measure, John was doing perfectly fine. But he had a problem he couldn't quite name out loud. He had been stuck at roughly the same number for 6 years. His income kept going up year after year. His net worth barely moved an inch the whole time. Every raise he earned seemed to vanish into thin air. He wasn't broke, but he definitely wasn't rich either. He was simply frozen in place, running hard, going nowhere. And here's the strange part of the whole story. John was not lazy, and he was not careless with money. He worked hard and he saved something every single month. Yet the finish line kept quietly sliding away from him. What John didn't understand is that wealth doesn't grow in a straight line. It moves in stages, like climbing a steep set of stairs. There are 6 of these money stages in total. Most people get permanently stuck at the 3rd one. The wall in front of them feels solid and completely permanent. They assume they'll be standing there forever, and the real reason they're stuck is not what you think it is. Here is what almost nobody tells you about building money. Your net worth does not rise smoothly and evenly over time. It jumps up in sudden steps, then flattens, then jumps again. Each step is a different world with a different set of rules. The habits that carried you up one stair will not carry you higher. In fact, some of those exact same habits will trap you completely. The median American household net worth is about $193,000. That means half the entire country sits somewhere below that line. Most of those people are stuck at the exact stage John was stuck at. It is the single most crowded step on the whole staircase. And the people frozen there almost always blame the wrong thing. They think what they really need is a bigger paycheck. They're convinced the entire problem is simply their income, but the actual data tells a very different story. The trap at stage 3 has almost nothing to do with what you earn. It is about timing, about math, and about one quiet mistake. It's a mistake that feels responsible while it slowly ruins you. It hides in plain sight and wears the mask of success. So before you decide which stage you're standing on, hear this out. By the end, you'll know exactly why you're stuck and how to climb. And you'll see why stage 3 fools almost everyone who reaches it. Let's build this entire staircase from the very bottom up. Every stage is defined by one number and one number only. That number is your net worth, not your salary or job title. Your net worth is everything you own minus everything you owe. Write that number down because it decides which stage you're on. It doesn't care how much you make each month. It only cares about what you actually keep. Stage 1 is survival. This is a net worth under $1,000. At this stage, you are conscious of every single dollar you spend. A surprise car repair is a genuine emergency, not an inconvenience. You borrow, you juggle bills, and you pray nothing else breaks. Roughly 1 in 3 Americans passes through this stage at some point. It is exhausting, and it quietly eats your mental energy alive. Every decision at stage 1 is filtered through fear. Stage 2 is stability. This is a net worth between $1,000 and $10,000. Now you finally have a small cushion sitting underneath you. A flat tire becomes annoying instead of completely catastrophic. You can exhale, sometimes for the first time in years. The constant background hum of money panic begins to fade. You start to believe that a better future is possible. Stage 3 is the plateau. This is a net worth between $10,000 and $100,000. This is where most people spend the majority of their adult lives. And this is exactly where John sat frozen for 6 long years. It looks like slow progress, but it feels like a treadmill. You run, and the scenery never seems to change. Stage 4 is momentum. This is a net worth between $100,000 and $500,000. Here, something almost magical starts happening with your money. Your balance begins growing partly on its own now. The work you did earlier finally starts paying you back. Stage 5 is independence. This is a net worth between $500,000 and $1 million. Your money now earns a serious salary all of its own. Work slowly shifts from a hard requirement to a real choice. Stage 6 is freedom. This is a net worth above $1 million. At this stage, your money finally works harder than you do. Your portfolio becomes the main breadwinner in your life. 6 stages, 6 completely different lives, 6 different mindsets. Each one changes how you sleep, how you spend, how you decide. And the wall between stage 3 and stage 4 is the tallest of all. Understanding that specific wall is the whole point of this video. So let's tear it apart brick by brick. Stage 3 feels like personal failure, but it truly isn't. It is actually the hardest math problem in all of personal finance. The late Charlie Munger once said it very plainly and bluntly. The first $100,000 is a beast, but you must get it. He was not being dramatic or clever just for effect. He was describing cold, real, unavoidable arithmetic. Let's actually run the numbers on why he was so right. Imagine John saves exactly $500 every single month. Assume his investments earn 8% a year on average. His first $100,000 takes him about 11 years. 11 years is a brutally long time to feel like nothing works. Most people simply cannot stay motivated for that long. They start strong and then quietly give up around year 4. But watch closely what happens after that first painful hurdle. The second 100,000 at the same pace takes only 6 years. The third 100,000 takes roughly 4 years after that. Each step up the staircase gets shorter and noticeably easier. Stage 3 is simply the widest, flattest, most exhausting step of all. And most people quit right before the stairs start shrinking. They walk away 1 year before the math turns in their favor. That is the tragedy hiding inside Stage 3. Here is the cruel little trick hiding inside Stage 3. Early on, your own savings do almost all of the heavy work. Your investment returns are tiny because your balance is tiny. 8% of $10,000 is just $800 a year. That's less than many people spend on coffee annually. So investing honestly feels pointless at this early stage. Why bother when the yearly growth is barely even visible? It feels like carrying water in a leaky bucket, but that same 8% tells a completely different story later. 8% of $100,000 is $8,000 a year. 8% of $500,000 is $40,000 a year. That is a full-time salary, earned by your money while you sleep. The problem is that this power is completely invisible at Stage 3. You have to fund the account for years before compounding wakes up. During that long wait, most people feel no real progress at all. So they stop contributing, or worse, they cash the whole thing out. They mistake a slow, quiet start for a permanent dead end. That single misunderstanding keeps millions of people stuck for life. The lag is real, but it is temporary and it always breaks. Now here is the mistake that actually locks the door shut. It is not a low income, as almost everyone assumes. It is a rising income that gets spent far too fast. When John got a raise, he bought a slightly nicer car. When he got a bonus, he upgraded the kitchen counters. Each upgrade felt earned, reasonable, and completely well-deserved. But every single upgrade quietly raised his cost of living. And a higher cost of living pushes the finish line farther away. This is called lifestyle creep, and it is the true jailer of Stage 3. The math behind it is completely and utterly merciless. If you spend every raise you get, your savings rate never rises. And your savings rate, not your salary, decides how fast you climb. This is the fact almost every finance channel quietly skips over. Two people earning the identical income can live in completely different stages. The one who freezes their lifestyle steadily escapes upward. The one who inflates their lifestyle stays trapped for decades. Same paycheck, opposite outcomes, all from one invisible habit. Lifestyle creep never feels like a mistake in the moment. It feels like a reward you finally deserve. That's exactly why it's so dangerous. Let me show you the two-raise trap with real numbers. John earns $60,000 and saves $6,000 a year. That's a savings rate of 10%, which sounds perfectly fine. Then John gets a 10% raise, lifting him to $66,000. But he also raises his spending by that full $6,000. His savings stay stuck at $6,000, so his rate actually falls. He feels noticeably richer while his real progress quietly stalls out. His lifestyle grew, but his freedom did not move at all. Now compare that to how Carla handled the exact same raise. Carla also jumped from $60,000 to $66,000. But she kept her spending frozen exactly where it already was. She added the entire $6,000 raise straight to her investments. Her savings jumped from $6,000 to $12,000 a year. She doubled her savings rate without earning a dollar more than John. Multiply that single choice across 10 or 15 years of raises. The difference between them isn't small, it's 2 or 3 whole stages. That is the quiet, invisible, staggering power of not spending your raises. One raise, 2 paths, 2 completely different retirements. Most people obsess endlessly over the return on their investments. They chase hot stocks, hot funds, and hot tips constantly. But at Stage 3, your savings rate matters far more than returns. Saving 20% instead of 10% doubles your progress instantly. No stock pick on earth reliably doubles your money that safely. Your contribution rate is the one lever fully in your control. The market decides your returns, but you alone decide your savings rate. And in the early stages, that rate is the entire game. A person saving 30% of a modest income beats a big earner saving nothing. Wealth is built on the gap between earning and spending. Widen that gap, and every stage above 3 arrives faster. Ignore that gap, and no raise will ever feel like enough. This is why some doctors stay broke while teachers retire rich. It was never about the size of the paycheck. It was always about the size of the gap. There is one more thing that pins people to stage 3. It is debt, and specifically the expensive high-interest kind. A person can earn a great income and still have tiny net worth. Car loans, credit cards, and financed toys all drag the number down. Remember, net worth is what you own minus what you owe. High-interest debt is compounding, but it's compounding hard against you. Paying 18% on a credit card erases any 8% gains. You are running up a down escalator when you carry that balance. So the first real move out of stage 3 is often defense. Kill the high-interest debt before you chase big investment returns. Every dollar of 20% debt you erase is a guaranteed 20% return. There is no safer, faster win available at this entire stage. Clear the anchor and the whole staircase suddenly opens up. Your net worth can leap the moment the debt disappears. John had a coworker named Carla on the same exact team. They started together, earning almost the identical salary, but Carla did one specific thing very differently from John. When her pay went up, her spending simply stayed flat. She kept driving her old paid-off car for 3 extra years. She banked every raise straight into her boring index funds. It felt boring and a little joyless at the time, honestly. Her friends quietly thought she was being a little cheap. But Carla was doing the one thing that truly beat stage 3. She widened the gap between what she earned and what she spent. After 8 years, John was still hovering near $90,000. Carla had already crossed $200,000 and kept climbing. Same job, same paycheck, wildly different stage of life. The difference between them was never luck or income. It was simply the raises that Carla refused to spend. Nobody around her even noticed she was doing it. Stage 3 is where money stops being math and becomes identity. At this level, the people around you can see your choices clearly. A brand new car sends a loud, visible signal to everyone. A kitchen remodel earns compliments at every dinner party. Restaurants, vacations, and gadgets all quietly say who you are. And the pressure to signal success is strongest right here. This is the stage where keeping up with others does the most damage. Every dollar spent proving you've made it is a dollar that can't compound. The people who escape make an uncomfortable peace with looking ordinary. They let their bank account grow instead of their image. They drive the old car while their portfolio quietly explodes. That trade is emotionally hard, and almost nobody warns you about it. Your ego wants the new car, but your future wants the freedom. Stage 3 is really a battle between those two versions of you. The version that wins decides the rest of your life. Something strange happens as you climb between these stages. The world starts treating you completely differently at each level. At stage 1 and 2, banks see you as a risk. Fees are higher and approvals are harder to get. At stage 3, you become mostly invisible to them. You're just another average customer in a giant crowd. But cross into stage 4 and 5, and doors quietly open. Advisors call you, banks offer better rates, and perks appear. Interestingly, the wealthy often pay less for the same money. Better credit means lower interest on everything they borrow. It's an uncomfortable truth that money flows toward money. That's exactly why escaping stage 3 changes so much. The system starts working with you instead of against you. For most people, stage 3 collides with their 40s. This is the decade where the trap snaps shut hardest. Incomes are near their peak, and so is the temptation. Bigger houses, nicer cars, and expensive vacations all call loudly. Kids, college, and status pile the pressure on even higher. But your 40s are also your last big compounding window. Money invested at 40 still has decades left to grow. Money invested at 60 barely gets any time at all. So the choices you make now echo for 30 years. Freezing your lifestyle in your 40s is incredibly powerful. It's the difference between retiring free and retiring trapped. This one decade quietly decides which one you get. So how do you actually escape the plateau for good? There are really only 3 moves that truly matter here. First, kill your high-interest debt as fast as possible. That's a guaranteed return no investment can safely match. Second, freeze your lifestyle and bank every future raise. Let your income rise while your spending stays perfectly flat. Third, automate your investing so willpower never gets a vote. Money that moves automatically never gets spent by accident. Do those three things and the math takes over completely. You don't need a genius stock pick or a lucky break. You just need the gap, the patience, and the automation. Stage 4 is not reserved for the brilliant or the lucky. It's reserved for the people who simply refuse to quit. When you finally cross $100,000, the game flips. Now your returns start to rival your own contributions. In a strong year, your investments might grow $15,000 alone. Suddenly, saving stops feeling like pushing a boulder uphill. The boulder starts rolling forward alongside you instead of against you. This is momentum, and it is addictive in the best possible way. People who reach stage 4 often describe a strange new calm. The daily money panic fades quietly into the background noise. You still go to work, but the raw fear loosens its grip. And every additional dollar you invest now lands on a bigger pile. The same effort produces visibly bigger results each year. That is the reward waiting on the other side of the wall. Once you feel it, you never want to go back. Stage 5 begins right around $500,000. This is a massive psychological and financial dividing line. At a reasonable return, $500,000 can generate $40,000 a year. That is a real income, earned entirely by your portfolio. For the first time, your money out-earns what many people make working. You are not fully financially independent yet, but you can see it. Your decisions start to change in subtle but important ways. A bad boss feels far less terrifying at this stage. Your investments are quietly pulling real weight beside you. Options appear that were completely invisible 3 stages ago. You can take a risk, switch careers, or start a business. And the distance to the final step is shorter than it looks. Momentum from stage 4 carries you here faster than expected. Stage 6 starts at $1 million in net worth. Contrary to the movies, this is not private jets and yachts. A single $1 million is not extravagant wealth in 2026. But it is the line where work slowly becomes optional. At this stage, your money reliably earns more than you spend. Your portfolio can keep growing even while supporting your life. This is the real definition of freedom, and it's quieter than expected. There are no fireworks, just a deep and steady sense of safety. Interestingly, research shows happiness barely rises from 1 to 8 million. The huge emotional jump happens far, far earlier than that. It happens the moment your survival fear finally disappears for good. And that moment arrives the very day you escape stage 3. The biggest feeling isn't at the top, it's at the wall. Before we go further, do one quick honest exercise. Add up everything you own of real value today. Include your cash, your investments, and your home equity. Then subtract every debt you currently owe anyone. The number you're left with is your true net worth. Now find that number on our 6-stage staircase. Be honest, even if the answer stings a little. Most people guess higher than their real number. They confuse a big income with a big net worth. But the two are completely different things entirely. A surgeon with huge loans can sit at stage 2. A frugal teacher with no debt can reach stage 4. Your paycheck is not your position on this staircase. Only your kept money decides where you actually stand. Knowing your real stage is the first honest step. You cannot fix a problem you refuse to measure. So measure it today and stop guessing about your future. Let's zoom in on a single ordinary month at stage 3. The paycheck arrives, and for a moment things feel good. Rent or mortgage takes the first big bite immediately. The car payment quietly follows right behind it. Groceries, gas, insurance, and subscriptions chip away steadily. By the middle of the month, the cushion feels thin again. You transfer a little into savings, feeling responsible. Then a birthday, a repair, or a trip erases that transfer. The account ends the month almost exactly where it started. Nothing went wrong, and yet nothing moved forward either. This is the quiet rhythm that traps millions of people. It's not dramatic, and that's precisely why it's dangerous. Stage 3 rarely fails loudly, it just fails slowly. The escape starts by making that monthly transfer untouchable. Pay your future self first, before the month can eat it. Here is a factor most people completely forget about. The stages themselves drift upward a little every year. Inflation slowly raises the cost of every single stage. What felt like real money a decade ago feels smaller now. $100,000 buys less than it used to. This is why standing still actually means falling behind. If your money isn't growing, inflation is quietly shrinking it. Cash sitting in a low-interest account loses value every year. That's another reason Stage 3 feels so sticky over time. You can save diligently and still feel like you're sinking. The only real defense is investing for growth, not just saving. Your money has to outrun inflation to move you upward. Beating that silent tax is part of escaping the plateau. So here is the counterintuitive truth almost no one says aloud. Stage 3 is not the place where you are failing. Stage 3 is where you are closest to winning, and most likely to quit. The plateau feels permanent, but it's actually the last, genuinely hard part. Everything above it gets mathematically easier, year after year after year. The people who stay stuck are not the ones who earn the least. They are the ones who spend every raise chasing a feeling. They inflate their lives at the exact moment they should freeze them. They quit the climb one single year before the stairs shrink. They were so close and they never even knew it. So remember this one line above everything else you've heard. The stall at Stage 3 is not a money problem. It's a patience problem. The math always works if you simply give it enough time. Most people just walk away long before it ever does. Don't be one of them because you are closer than you. Feel. The wall is highest right before it finally falls. Think about how many people give up in year 10 of an 11-year climb. They had done the hardest part already, then walked away. Don't trade a decade of effort for one impatient decision. The finish line for Stage 3 is closer than it has ever been. John eventually figured all of this out at 41. He didn't earn a single extra dollar to do it. He simply stopped spending his raises for 3 boring years. His net worth crossed $100,000, then kept accelerating fast. Nothing at all about his actual job had changed. Only his relationship with the finish line was truly different. So the next time you feel frozen at Stage 3, ask one question. Is my real problem my income or every raise I quietly spend? Because the gap between what you earn and what you keep matters most. That gap is the only ladder that actually moves you upward. So do the math and be brutally honest about your own numbers. Make the decision that matches your reality, not someone else's highlight reel. If this helped you see your money more clearly, subscribe to Wealth Logic. We break down the hidden math behind the decisions you face every day. That is the real logic behind the 6 stages of wealth.